Hello Internet, how the devil are you? Now, I am not usually the type to rant down a phone camera about various things that are bothering me. Although that is what I'm doing right now, so I guess that does mean I am that kind of person. Self-discovery. Well, I'm sitting here on a semi-gorgeous Irish day. I've been outside getting nice and red in the face for you, the general public, because it's what you deserve. But there's something on my mind. And that something is the de facto Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson. And, Boris Johnson is a person who's always fascinated me for years, ever since I've known about him. You're an intelligent group of people. I assume you know how to use Google well enough to put Boris Johnson in there and get stuck in, like I did, into the endless list of terrible things that he's done and terrible things that he said. He really is quite a smorgasbord of awfulness. And he's going to be the leader of one of the more important countries in the Western Hemisphere. So how does this happen? A lot of different reasons, but one of the big reasons is to do with Boris Johnson, because when he was younger, he was a correspondent in Brussels back in the early 90s, mid-90s, and he is really responsible for perfecting that particular type of news story, which we've all seen many, many times before. The EU is bringing in ridiculous regulations of making our bananas less bendy, making our vacuum cleaners less powerful, because they want to put the thumb down on the great British people. And he most of what he was talking about was either half-truth or just complete fabrication, but it was effective, and people listened, and it was copied. And it really did contribute a lot to the groundswell that caused the 2016 Brexit referendum result. So please do look into details about him. There's so many things about him. He's a serial philanderer. He has children who he won't acknowledge are his. He said some brilliantly, appallingly racist things. He's called black people pickaninnies. He recently said, while he was Foreign Secretary, about Leo Varadkar, the Taoiseach of Ireland, "Why isn't he called Murphy like the rest of them?" Classy. But the thing about him I think that most aggravates and annoys me is the fact that he is a really, really bad writer. Like a really bad writer. And that was his job for a long time. That was what he made his living doing. That was his profession, was writing. And you can tell that he thinks he's quite good at it. Now, I'm by no means a good writer myself, which I suppose might contribute to it. A bad writer always recognises another bad writer. But there's just something about the fact that Boris Johnson has been allowed to achieve so much, and he's had so many of his failures and mistakes forgiven because of the privilege that he's able to go into the world with. He went to Eton as a boy, and that really opens doors for you. So what I'm building up to really is just one particular line from one particular work by Boris Johnson. I've read quite a lot of what he's written, be it a newspaper article or a book that he's written, and one of the best comes from his biography of Winston Churchill, which is really fascinating as a psychological exercise because it's a biography written by someone about a historical figure, whereas they're really trying to talk about themselves. Boris Johnson, whose real name is Alexander Johnson, by the way, Boris is a nickname, he clearly sees himself as an inheritor of Churchill, of his legacy, of Churchill's no-nonsense way of doing things. So the book is a joy to read for that reason, but there's one particular line that I will always remember, and I had this pointed out to me reading a Guardian article about the same thing. The line is, "Churchill was the nail on which destiny snagged her frock." Got layers of mediocrity to it, because it's a metaphor that's not only clunky, but also pointless. It doesn't tell you anything about Churchill at all. It's just a semi-charming turn of phrase from somebody who really feels that they have too much of a right to your time. So this man is now set to become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during one of the most difficult periods for the United Kingdom in recent history. Good luck! Ha ha!